Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again today for another Pottag etude. These are actually little solo pieces. I wouldn't call it an etude. An etude kind of implies an exercise. And that's exactly what we don't want to do, even when we're playing exercises. We want to try and play music. So what constitutes music? Well, we're going to do number 9 today. And number 9 is also marked tempo di waltz, so waltz time. So it has this circular feeling. That's what music is all about. There are different kinds of feelings of movement, different kinds of gestures. You can think of this as something that's visible, a movement, like dance. And a waltz is a dance. So that really helps us on this one. And that circular feeling. And you also have a feeling of continuously moving. So in a waltz, you see people spinning around and moving across the floor. So there's little gestures, which we have with every bar, and then there's bigger gestures, which are your phrases. But whatever you're doing, if you want to keep it simple, just think how does, let your body move. If you're a dancer, you already know what I'm talking about. If you're not a dancer, you can simply walk around playing this. Now, I'm constrained by the location here and a static camera. I don't have a videographer. I am the videographer. So I can't dance around the room. But I actually do that sometimes when I practice. Walk in a graceful dance-like manner. So you're starting to access your body's natural connection with the sound that sounds like movement. Movement that gets translated into sound. So listen for that as I play this one, and I hope you enjoy the experience. If you're playing it well, it should make somebody move. Now, of course, some music is more heavily into movement. You have rock, and you have a lot of dance music, disco from back in the day, and techno, which is its child, I suppose. And that has a heavy, a kind of a rhythmic, heavy beat. And so that's very insistent and very demanding. A lot of the music that we play that's more classically oriented in various classical styles is much more subtle in the movement. It's not so physical, it's not so heavy, it's not so strong in terms of physical feeling of it, like that heavy beat. But it's a much more subtle movement. Sometimes it's the movement of thought. If you think about, if you're familiar with the music of Mahler, it's almost like listening to someone who is slightly manic depressive. It's almost like listening to the emotions that are flowing through their mind. And it's an amazing experience. So that's a kind of movement. Now there's always harmonic movement that's taking place. I don't want to get too heavily into this because this tune is very, very simple. But if you listen to it and you go through it quickly, let me show you what I mean. Okay, that's one chord, if you will. So basically you have 4 bar shapes that follow the change of the harmony. Now we don't have any accompaniment here, but the harmony is implied by the melody. And then it changes a little bit. No, that's still 4 bars. And you can hear we're going back to the beginning. So it's not something that, sometimes we get so caught up in doing the detail work or working out the technical difficulties that we forget that most of the music is in the very simple underlying foundational things, like the harmonic change. And so that's something you want to just listen for. So you can say, oh yeah, it's this harmony moving to this harmony. It's this progression going through. This is not a great example of that, but it's something that if you hear those harmonic that harmonic progression, and you're playing the shapes of the phrases to fit the progression, you're basically telling folks, you're leading them, you're showing them where they're going next. One more thing, and then I'll let you go practice. There are a few different details in this. So right at the beginning, so we have that staccato. And whether it has, as I mentioned in some of the previous episodes, whether that has an open end to it where it just resonates, or whether it has a closed end to it where the note has a more abrupt release, and with what degree of intensity that happens, that gives a tremendous amount to the character of the piece. And it either helps you create the line, so you have a beautiful long line, but when you're not sustaining the tone, as I just was now slurring, you still want to bring that same shape out. And so these are musical decisions that you need to make. Now I'm going to go down to the last line because there are a couple of places in this piece, and this is a good way to check it out, where you have a slur marking and then staccato dots underneath. And most players I've worked with, that's confusing to them. They don't know what to do. So I'll give you a couple of ideas. I'm not going to give you a rule. I do have a basic rule that I start with, and the basic rule is simple. To me, it means that the notes are clearly articulated, they're spoken, they're pronounced to some degree. So it's not exactly a slur, but it still feels like a slur. Now you could look at it another way and say, well, that's not a slur marking, that's a phrase marking. Okay, so that means that those notes with the staccato dots are a gesture leading to the next note, let's say. So it's kind of like a group of notes leading to the next note. And both those ideas are good. But see, the challenge for you as you play it is you have to decide exactly what you want it to sound like. And if you don't, then it's going to be kind of random. It'll just be whatever. I can let you know now that people that play in orchestras and have had success doing so and have made their living doing so, they are all very detail-oriented people, very meticulous and very particular about the qualities of what they're doing and the details. And if you're not that kind of person, then you have to learn how to be that kind of person if you want to play in an orchestra. But don't let the details get in the way of the music. They should enhance the music. They're like the spices that bring out that complement the flavors and enhance the experience, but they're not the basic ingredient. They're not the vegetables or the meat or whatever. You know, they're just an enhancement. So keep things in their proper perspective when you're working on your musical expression. Okay, so I'm going to play a little bit and show you what I mean. I'm going to experiment with this. Just allow me to just listen for a while. So I'm going to compare, if you're looking at the music, so this is a pickup to the bar before the last line. So I'm just stroking, listening, trying to find the right flavor, the right spice that enhances the music. And that's completely an artistic decision. So here's where you really need to tap into your instincts and listen to good examples. Like I said before, listen, feed on what you hear, figure out how to do it by doing it, just like you've heard me do. So now you got some work to do. It's not just about the notes. This is, can you make music? Can you let the music come through? So I hope you enjoy the process. Thanks for joining me again today, and I will see you in the next installment. Bye-bye.